Welcome back to the BeastCoast News. Today we're going to touch on a couple of things going on in the cannabis industry out there. Let's drop it right down to Florida. So MedMen exits Florida cannabis market, exploring New York alternatives. New York, you better watch out. MedMen are coming. So MedMen Enterprise Inc. closed a $67 million deal with Florida's based private company Green Century Holdings for the company's Florida-based operation, which included licensed dispensaries, inventory, and cultivation operation. The deal is comprised of $63 million in cash and approximately $4 million in liabilities to be assumed by Green Century. Damn, they left them home the bag like that. The deal also includes license of MedMen trademark in the state. MedMen is not the only cannabis company to leave Florida highly competitive market, as Bell Rock Brands also revealed their exit this month. So they're heading and shifting their focus in Missouri. So as I said, these MSOs, man, they just get people, they go to your state, they get people hyped up, and then they're like, nah, we're not making no money. We need to move somewhere else. And then pretty much anybody who thought they were going to get into the industry, or somebody who think they were going to get a job, that just got taken away from you, man. Sorry for the working class out there, but this is how the corporate work worlds. And when these MSOs get into this industry, that's how they operate. It's all about the dollars for them. So let's focus to Missouri, because since, we ended on Missouri, let's jump into that a little bit. So lawsuit aims to block adult use marijuana initiative from Missouri ballots. So pretty much Missouri is like, nah, we don't want your adult use, which is a smart move, I think, because, with the adult use, the MSOs have become very resourceful how to get into the back end of it. And basically, they're not really the forefront of it, but they're using, maybe social equity applicants or, people who have some kind of, stake in the business, and then they're using them, and then they're just the back end partners. So an anti-drug organization filed a lawsuit in an attempt to block an adult use marijuana legalization initiative in Missouri from going before voters in November. According to the Kansas City Star, the suit was filed by Joyce Sweeney, a staffer at the Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America and former public school board member in Jefferson City, Missouri. The suit allegates that the ballot measure violates the state's single subject rule for constitutional amendments. The signature petitions submitted by the campaigns were improperly verified by the Secretary of State and weren't actually enough to make the ballot. Woo! So maybe next year, the MSOs can get out there, but this year it's not going to happen. So we're going to jump into NIH study, which they're talking about the use of cannabis and psychedelics is soaring among young adults, and study finds. You can find the survey data in my description for the podcast if you want to look over the information. I'm just going to touch on a few things in regards to what the article was kind of, how they feel, how cannabis is now affecting the youth. Cannabis and hallucinogenics use among young adults reached an all-time record last year after having leveled off during the first year of the corona pandemic, according to the federal NIH survey that they did. Now, the findings is part of the government annual survey of drug use among young Americans also found that the nicotine, vaping, and excessive alcohol consumption continued to climb in 2021 after a brief pause. Another worrying trend among young people ages 19 to 30. Mounting consumption of alcoholic beverages suffused with THC, the ingredient of cannabis. But there were some blind spots in the survey. Cigarette smoking and opioid abuse among young adults dropped last year, a continuing trend that has hardened public health experts. So on one hand, they're saying that, the stuff that was really, really dangerous and addictive is being on a decline, but now they're worried that they're substituting it now with other things. So let's talk about the marijuana use in regards to what they said. Marijuana in the past month, daily marijuana use, 20 or more occasion in the past 30 days, reached the highest level ever recorded since the trend were first monitored in 1988. The proportion of young adults who reported past year cannabis use reached 43% in 2021, a significant increase from 34 5 years ago in 2016, and 29% 10 years ago in 2011. Cannabis use in the past month has reported by 29% of young adults in 2021 compared to 21% in 2016 and 17% in 2011. Daily cannabis use also significantly increased during these time periods, reported by 11% of young adults in 2021 compared to 8% in 2016 and 6% in 2011. So this is not really a significant jump, but anything where the number goes up high, they feel as though that this is alarming, right? I mean, the percentage itself alone, looking at this information, they're saying that 29% young adults, right, in the past month, reportedly, in 2021 compared to 21%. So what are we saying? An 8% increase from 2016 is where this is dramatically high. And then if we go further into 2011, was 17% compared to 29% in 2021. So, these things to me, I feel as though it's just them just trying to, create a ban on this, right? And it's pretty sad because there are medicinal use for cannabis, and for them to feel as though that, with the decrease, even in their research, they noticed the decrease of cigarette smoke and opioid abuse, which I think is a better thing. We're having less young kids getting cancer, right, and getting hooked on these cigarettes, and then also the opioid abuse, right, that has also decreased, right? So the types of hallucinogenics that they kind of reported or participated included LSD, MDMA, mescaline, peyote, and psilocybin, and PCP. The only hallucinogen measured that was significantly decreased was the use in MDA, which is called Molly, showing statistically significant decrease in 1 year as well as the past 5 years, from 5% in both 2016 and 2020 to 3% in 2021. So again, it's just a few percentages, but I'm glad to see that the younger adults are realizing that these pharmaceutical made things are not good to be used anyway, right? Everyone knows that the plant medicine is more natural and there's better quality of life versus using something that's man-made. So let's jump into going up to Maine, because this has been the precedence of a lot of things that's going to happen internationally because of what just took place here. So the federal court strikes down Maine's residency requirement for cannabis business owners. A law requiring all owners of medical cannabis business in Maine to be residents of the state was struck down last week by a federal appeals court, which ruled that the statute is a violation of the U.S. Constitution. The First Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a lower court ruling that the residency requirement is an unconstitutional restriction on interstate trade. See, they're trying to break it up, man. They're trying to allow this thing to go across state lines. And I feel as though that, it shouldn't go across state lines. Each state should have their own opportunity within the cannabis market, because once you start bringing in other states, then you have to really wonder and worry about what these other states are producing. At least if something is being produced in your state locally, you'll have a little bit more trust with the farmers versus those who might be in a situation where they have a larger landscape to produce more, could be using tactics that are not that clean. Under the regulation for Maine medical marijuana program, all directors of the officers of a dispensary licensed to sell medical cannabis must be resident of the state. In 2020, Maine's largest medical marijuana company, Wellness Connection, filed a suit to challenge the residency requirement on the grounds that it violates the Constitution Dormant Commerce Clause, which prohibits states from passing legislation that restrict interstate trade. So you see, again, these, I like the medical, but sometimes I don't like the medical, because when it comes to the medical, it's normally operated by major state operators, right? And these state operators, they want to have multiple locations in different states, and they want to be able to bring what they have in one state to another state. So they're finding ways to go against what the local people wanted in place for their own kind of law. Residency requirement has been struck down in other states that has legalized cannabis, and officials in Maine announced in 2020 that the regulation requiring recreational cannabis business to be owned by state residents would not be enforced, but kept the requirement in place for its medical cannabis program. The United States District Court for the District of Maine ruled in the Wellness Connection case that residency requirement violated the Dormant Commerce Clause and was unenforceable. The ruling was appealed by the state and a coalition of medical cannabis business who argued that the Dormant Commerce Clause does not apply due to the illegality of cannabis under federal law. In a 2-1 decision handed down last week, the First Circuit affirmed the lower court's decision. So, man, it's kind of sad, but it's gonna happen, guys. We hope that it doesn't really happen too quick, because if it does happen too quick, the only people who are going to be able to, get a fair share is going to be, people who have the backing, financial backing. So, the MSOs, these celebrities that are trying to get into the industry now, they have the capital, and the long-time legacy operators, they won't be able to get into this game, not on the level that they thought they could or have been getting into, because once this goes interstate, it's a whole different ball game. So let's jump down to Virginia. Another one. I like how the laws are loosening up, and there's more and more grants being offered. In this case, groups offer $1 million in cannabis scholarship to Virginia students. At one point, getting an education in cannabis, also known as marijuana, was unheard. I think this is a period of change. I think this is a period of growth. Dr. Bobby Vincent III said, Dr. Vincent is a cannabis pharmacist treating patients at Beyond Hello Cannabis Dispensary in Northern Virginia. He's among the first country to receive a master's degree in medical cannabis science and therapeutics. It's a groundbreaking degree he hopes more students who, like him, will have an access to. The course is now being offered online through Mitchell School of Business and Greenleaf University. And there are plans to work with Virginia Tech and other Virginia schools in the future. Upon graduation, students will be selected to receive up to $50,000 for their startup business. So hats off to them, doing that in regards to the cannabis industry in Virginia. Just some honorable mentions for this week. Switzerland is beginning their trial with the legal sale. For many years, Switzerland has only been medical, but now they're getting into it, and they're going to give it a trial with it. I think it's just a few participants. It's not something that's open to the whole country. And then Vermont appoints agricultural official as the chief cannabis enforcer. So that should be interesting to see how that works. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the BeastCoast News. If you do like it, please don't forget to comment, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next week.